The University of Tasmania is slashing degrees. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have a stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article from the ABC discussing the University of Tasmania slashing its degrees. Because one of the issues that has been raised again and again is just the effect of this global illness on our, education sector, on our university sector, which is so dependent on foreign university numbers. Now, the University of Tasmania, I went there as an architecture student in the third year for a student conference. It was fantastic. I went to Launceston, then we went to Hobart. I love Tasmania. Great beer too. And they have a good architecture degree. If, they're all a bit hippie down there, but it's Tasmania. Everything's made of wood. Nonetheless, how many degrees do you think they're cutting, guys? They've got over 500. How many do you think they're cutting down? Before I go in the article, because I've seen it, and it shocked me, really. It's just a sign of how some of these universities have become so dependent on this foreign money. And that's concerning, because that can compromise them. We've seen that happening around Australia too. We're seeing that happening here at UQ with some of the protests between different student groups. So let's have a look. The University of Tasmania slashes degree offerings in cost-cutting exercises to stay sustainable. The University of Tasmania is slashing hundreds of the degrees and courses it offers as it struggles with financial challenges, including an over-reliance on China for students, which has been hit hard by the illness travel restrictions. In a letter sent to staff this afternoon, Vice-Chancellor Rufus Black, and this was yesterday, told employees UTAS was facing sustained headwinds to being long-term sustainable, and the number of courses was to be reduced from 514 to 120 by next year. Just think about that, guys. 514 to 120. That's a lot of staff you're not going to need to teach those courses. That's a lot of teaching assistants you're not going to need to teach those courses. Professor Black said the start of this year had demonstrated the university had an over-reliance on students from China, which coupled with the emergence of the global illness would have long-lasting consequences. Now, why is just this year showing this? This is the same thing as any business. So we're seeing this happen again and again and again. And I'm going to bring up my Observatory of Economic Complexity to show everyone, because remember this, for some people this will be the first time they see this. Okay, these are the exports from Quarry Nation, also known as Australia. Quarry 111, headed by Airstrip 1. Now, these are our imports. Look at how much more complicated they are. We'll just go down here. 35% of our stuff goes to China, and 24% of our stuff comes from China. We're dependent on them, guys. There's a reason why currency traders use the Australian dollar as a proxy for investing in China. It's not Rudd. Everyone thinks Rudd had magic fairy dust that saved Australia from the GFC. No, it was blind luck that China, completely beyond our control, went insane with their spending and bought a whole lot of dirt from our country. That's what it was. That's what it was, guys. So, and this is just our natural resources. Now we're seeing universities and education system. What about the tourism sector here? I'll bring this up. $60 billion industry, 3% of the GDP. About 12 of that is from China. So, guys, will people realize that being overly dependent on one civilization or one other nation is dangerous for any business? It's like being dependent on one client. In my architectural practice, particularly when I had a whole team behind me, and I'd always be concerned because we'd have the problem where we'd get, in one sector, we'd get lots of work in that one sector, and then we'd end up having about 80% of revenue from one client. And I'd have to go out there and make sure we had some others, because sometimes the tap gets turned off, sometimes the work runs out. In one sector, you need to keep a diversity in there to keep it going, and it's a challenge. Look at the crayfish or rock lobster industry in Western Australia. Their cooperative is completely dependent on China, and now all the ships are moored. It's a big problem, guys. It's a big problem. And the universities, they've walked right into it. So much for all the smart people, hey. The combination of these forces is proving to be a very strong headwind, Professor Black said, adding the university was not making enough progress to be the right size to be sustainable even in the short term. So that's a nice way of saying you've got to fire staff. You've got to reduce your costs. The year sees us starting a long way behind our budget and with more financial challenges to come. UTS said it would need fewer employees and would aim to reduce staffing levels through natural turnover and redeployment, but has not said how many jobs will be cut. Yeah, I know that's what they aim to do. I know that's what they aim to do because they're all nice and trying to be friendly, but sometimes maybe you need a new leader then. Maybe you need to bring in someone that can actually turn around the organization. We've thought a lot about the timing of doing this work with the illness situation evolving, Professor Black said. We know we face significant financial challenges today and into next year. By getting going now, we have the best chance to do this in a planned way over an appropriate time. So the challenging times. Professor Black said UTS was fortunate pressures aren't at a level requiring redundancies, and management have the time to do this well. Oh, that's good. That's good. They've got some time. Wow, they built this in Hobart? Well, now we know where their money's gone. Oh, this is hotels and accommodation for students. They've invested in accommodation. That's not their core business, is it? It's not their core business at all. Well, there you go. There you go. That explains it right there. That explains it right there. Funny that. So this challenge is not new for us. We've been aware of it for years. Many of our people will have been involved in prior attempts to address it, and you failed. For these reasons, it's important that our focus is not on how we arrive here, but on how we as a community intend to move on from here. Professor Black said UTS would examine its 2021 courses offerings in the coming months so it can begin marketing them, adding the university would simplify its website. Staff briefings on the changes will be held at campuses in Launceston, Burnie and Hobart later this week. So reconsider the move into cities, the union says. Kevin Michael from the National Tertiary Education Union said staff had been expecting a briefing on the illness and were shocked when it became clear the announcement was instead about UTS's plans. Well, it shows you how frankly these academics are removed from the reality of business, removed from the challenges of what they have to do day to day in a business. I've had frankly arguments with professors I was teaching for, and they seem to think that the role of just signing a payroll is the same as being an employer. They got no idea. Maybe you're starting to see why I'm not an assistant anymore at universities. I've done my 7 years. He said staff will have been unsettled by the announcement, and he expected to be contacted by UTAS employees over the coming days. A drop in... see this here, this just reminds me, have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and the Two Fathers that he refers to in that book? This is a perfect example, isn't it? A drop in income is obviously an issue to deal with, but there are other ways of dealing with short-term challenges to income, he said. Well, see, this isn't a short-term challenge. This is a long-term issue with the university, that they've become dependent on revenue from international students, which pay a premium. Honestly, I think a lot of the students are getting ripped off for what they're getting. I think university education is quite, even with HECS, I think it's quite expensive for what it is. Really is. Very overblown for what you get. You know, there's cheaper ways to provide this education. I think the whole system needs to be reformed, but that's a completely other topic. So, I mean, they're investing in these things. They've still got to maintain these buildings. They've still got to take care of them. Maybe they need to on-sell them. What do you think the bickering is going to be like between the academics to fight for their courses? There's going to be some backstabbing and, if you haven't been in uni, guys, you haven't seen anything. It's like Game of Thrones in there, all protecting the little fiefdoms. Mr. Michael said UTAS could reconsider its planned moves into the CBD areas of Hobart and Launceston, I think the university, CBD in Launceston. That's cute. That's cute. CBD in Launceston. Yeah, sure. Unless it's changed in the last time I've been there. I worked for a firm that was based in Lonnie. CBD in Lonnie. That's funny. I think the university will need to look at its finances and think about whether some of these property holdings could be turned back into realizable assets and used to assist in the short-term funding shortfalls. So the union's advice is to sell your assets. Wonder why they won't let the government do that. We'll have to see. This is the problem. It looks like they've dug themselves into a mess and they're too dependent on international students. It's that simple. You'd be shocked at how much revenue it makes for some of these places. What do you think, guys? Do you think this is just a uniquely UTAS problem, or is it a problem that's endemic to our entire higher education sector? And do you think they'll be able to address it? Do you know someone who's going to UTAS? How do the students feel? How would you feel if some of those courses they're going to cut are necessary for you to finish a degree? But there is one silver lining. Maybe they're going to cut all those garbage social justice and feminism degrees or courses they make students do in first year. There's a saving right there. Yeah, I'll give them that one for free. Take care, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to help us produce more content, there's a few ways you can. Share the videos, help the channel grow, get the word out there. Talk about it at a barbecue with your friends. Red pill your workmates about wage gaps and wage growth from the RBA. Yeah. Also, you can support us financially. We have a few methods you can. You can join the channel here on YouTube or on Patreon for a small monthly fee. You can also use our affiliate links with Amazon or eBay for your consumer purchases. We have affiliate links with Independent Reserve or Kucoin for the crypto traders out there. For there, we receive either an advertiser's commission of a couple of cents or a portion of the fee you pay to the exchange. So rather than giving Amazon extra money, you're supporting the channel. We also have merch from the HeiseSays website, pocketswears, you can see right behind me, and PayPal if you want to support us that way. Thank you all very much, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.